to all attendees. So we've got 2 at the moment. Should we maybe give it a couple of minutes?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Andrew's there. Hello, Andrew. Okay, looks like it's filling up. Just give it maybe a few more minutes and wait for people to attend. We've got 19 at the moment. It seems like Lucy's joined 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And then hi everyone, welcome. We're just waiting for a few more minutes to see if anyone else joins. Hopefully you all can hear me and see all of the panelists. Maybe we'll do a quick sound check. Jourdan, Stephen, maybe everyone just say hello. Just
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Cool. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
We can only see. Right, we just got a bit of a problem with the video. Okay, we're fine now. All right. Great. Anybody know any jokes? Okay, I'll just give it 1 more minute and then we can kick off. Cool, all right. Well, I guess I'll start. So maybe you guys are not listening to me because I'm hearing a bit of an echo at the moment for some reason. Great, well, hello and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. Well, depending on where you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining the session today. My name is, I'm Justin, I'm the EM for Asia Pacific at Sublime, and I'll be moderating this session today. So we'll spend the next 40 to 45 minutes just discussing some trends in video. If you have any questions, you can click on the Q&A button at the bottom of the window and type in your questions into the chat box. And hopefully we'll have some time at the end to answer some of the questions. So today, joining me, we've got Ingrid Couasnon. I think I've said that right. Been practicing it for a week.
Yes.
She is the EMEA at Smart. Stephen Filler, Managing Director at Union, Lucy Hinton, Head of Client Operations at Flashtalking, and Jourdan, Head of Performance for Singapore at OMG. So yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to come and share your thoughts with us. If you guys could just maybe take a moment to introduce yourselves, just maybe tell us a little bit about your role, and what your company does. So let's maybe start with Ingrid, Lucy, Stephen, and then lastly Jourdan, in that order, please.
Okay, thanks, Lucy. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you to Sublime for the invitation to this panel. Very happy to be with you today. So I'm Ingrid Couasnon, and I'm EVP EMEA at Smart. I oversee the sales activity in 7 countries with the help of my local team who address both the sales side and the demand side. So what about Smart? If you don't know Smart, we are an Adtech company providing an ad monetization platform built for premium publishers to serve demand buyers thanks to an ad server, a natively built SSP, and a DSP. We have a unique strategic positioning based on a specific shared interest business approach across the value chain. And Smart has a strong tech background as we are operating since 20 years.
Looks like we've lost Ingrid. Oh, okay, I think maybe we'll just crack on. Lucy, could you maybe introduce yourself and talk a bit about Flashtalking?
Absolutely. So I'm Lucy Hinton, Head of Client Operations for Europe over at Flashtalking. So thank you for having me on your panel today. I'm really excited about discussing video trends with everyone. So for those of you that don't know Flashtalking, we are an independent ad server. We are a primary ad serving platform. We're able to track all digital channels. But I suppose what we're probably best known for is delivering data-driven creative personalization, again, across all platforms, video, mobile, display, native, and moving into social shortly. And then to sort of complement the data-driven creative, we also have the advanced analytics suite to give advertisers the comprehensive view of customer journey and hopefully surfacing some actionable insights that they can actually make decisions off.
Thanks, Lucy.
Nice, should I go? Hi, it's Steve Filler from Union, which I launched in January this year. So Union is a joint venture between 5 existing EMEA video companies that all work with local market publishers in their own region. Union is, I guess, a sales and technology layer that brings together all of their supply and capability to hopefully make it easier for global brands to activate multi-market video campaigns with ease, but still knowing that they're going to be on publishers that actually resonate in each market and that, you know, that mean something to those audiences.
Great, thanks, Steve.
Hi, this is Jourdan from Singapore. Nice to meet everyone. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. So I work for Omnicom Media Group in Singapore here. We actually a media group where we have brands like OMD and PhD. And to summary, we specialize in terms of data-driven media planning with high insights, working with technology partners, curated supplies, and ensuring that we deliver the best outcomes for our clients from a media perspective, and ensuring that we have the right kind of trackable structure in place. So we work with clients from planning to execution to post-analysis perspective. So we are, in summary, OMG Group.
Great, thanks, guys. Okay, so, well, yeah, let's jump straight into it. Well, I mean, 2020 has been a rather extraordinary year. You know, we're facing some pretty extraordinary circumstances at the moment, given the global pandemic. This year's by far been one of the most challenging years for the advertising sector. However, you know, in the past couple of months, we've actually seen a rise in digital consumption, notably a rise in video consumption. So during the height of the lockdown, weekly time spent watching TV, connected TV grew alongside overall media use. Basically, we were all stuck indoors watching TV because of the lockdown, and that essentially accelerated demand for OTT and connected TV services. But when we look at, you know, CTV, connected TV, the ad spends still remain relatively small compared to linear TV. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was basically about connected TV and this rapidly growing space. Huge potential, allows for incremental reach, but all the promise of CTV, the industry landscape, is still taking shape. And navigating this environment, you know, surely presents a learning curve. So first question to you, Stephen, what kind of challenges do you think advertisers will face in trying to scale up their spends across connected TV? We know that, you know, the viewing consumption is increasing, but the ad spend is still relatively small compared to, say, linear or broadcast TV.
Yeah. So my insight, I guess, into the space comes from actually about 7 months ago when I was considering a role in the OTT space. And from talking to the buy side then, it seemed that the big challenges were one, around content quality. So, you know, that long tail of content, still maybe not what advertisers want to be associated with. It's improving, I know. And I know there's challenges around, you know, fraud and measurement, which yeah, any kind of emerging business or any emerging platform will go through those learning curves. But actually, I think probably the sort of the fragmentation feels like it's the key issue with, you know, 200 plus services, and probably Jourdan can talk best to this. But actually, I guess given some of the impact on resource that COVID-19 has had on agencies, you know, I guess navigating that world of fragmentation will continue to be tough. But I'm lucky enough to have a 19-year-old son, which is, you know, has many ups and downs. But what I do see is his content consumption, and there's no doubt that, I mean, he watches nothing on TV. Everything is on his phone. Everything is OTT. And so undoubtedly, you know, it's the future. It's just when. I wonder if it will be 2021, or if actually more realistically 2022 will be when we start to see the big growth, once agencies have just taken their time to fully assess the space.
Great, thanks for that, Stephen. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, obviously, because yeah, it's growing, and you've got the cord cutters, and then like your son, who's probably, how would you describe him? He's never watched linear TV before, or I'm sure he has, but he doesn't consume content on linear. And Jourdan, from an agency perspective, when you're executing campaigns, what challenges are you facing? I know our market's a little bit different. We're probably a little bit behind, but presumably there is still some demand for connected TV advertising, programmatic, and so on.
So I think good question, Justin, as well. I think if you take a step back, right, television has always been a push kind of channel where you broadcast the message out into the 60s, 70s, 80s, where the consumer gets fed message with the broadcaster. Come 2020 right now, it's a pull strategy where we pull and choose the content that we watch. I think the biggest challenge is the measurement piece. So how do you translate the same measurement? Because if you look at it, right, television is bought on tops, spot buys. But how do you translate that kind of approach to a CPM buy? Sorry, because that's how you change the whole kind of digital connected TV landscape. So I think that's one thing the measurement comes into play. And then I think secondly is also the infrastructure that we need to think about, because it's having the right infrastructure in place. I think that, back to your point, Asia, we're not there yet, but you'd be surprised that some markets like Vietnam, the biggest, one of the biggest paid TV, actually the biggest paid TV publications in Vietnam is now onboarded their digital inventory into programmatic. So there's some appetite in terms of, depending on the markets that we're in, and then also it's very depending on how do we set the infrastructure in place, the measurements, and how do we translate what we used to know about TV into a digital measurement.
Cool. Great, thanks for that, Jourdan. Ingrid, have you got maybe through Smart, have you got any data or insights around this this trend? Anything that you see that you could share with us?
Yes. First, for us, the big increase is still mainly in the US in terms of inventory and publishers that are giving us their inventory to help for the monetization. And regarding this trend, pandemic didn't change it. So we are still growing very fast in the US. And I was looking at our numbers. I can share with you if you want the trends for the overall digital video. So we experienced in H1, I can give you Q1 in Europe plus 9%, in Q2 minus 30%. And let's see, we expect still a decrease year on year in Q3 and growth back in Q4. And if I focus in France, in H1 in video, it was minus 12% with the biggest decrease on outstream. And regarding those numbers for OTT and CTV, it's quite similar to the overall digital video trend. So it was interesting to note that there was not specificities to OTT and CTV in terms of special decrease during the pandemic, but we have seen many publishers specialized with such inventories coming to us to help for the monetization. And for Europe, we have less inventory, but it's true also that so OTT players are still looking for their business model. Not all of them are doing advertising. Some of them are still relying on a 100% subscription business model. I'm convinced that they will go after an hybrid model. It should happen by Q4 and yeah, next year probably. We are seeing many new players coming, and I can't wait to see how will be the landscape even in 6 months.
Sorry, I need to unmute. Thanks for sharing, Ingrid. And Lucy, obviously from a creative perspective, you know, when it comes to linear TV, you know, well, the fact that CTV is more targetable than traditional broadcast, you know, that enables marketers to be more personal with their messaging. So some of the stuff that you guys do. So could you talk maybe a little bit about some of the creative solutions that are emerging within the CTV space and what are the limitations and challenges around that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the main thing to call out is actually the challenges, and some of them are, you know, significant challenges that we need to overcome. And one of them has already been touched upon, that sort of that fragmentation of the content that's available in the different platforms and getting quality, you know, ads in front of quality content. I think from our point of view, one of the biggest challenges is that it's mostly server-side ad insertion, which means that it's not served by a traditional third-party ad server. So we have even less control over delivering personalized content. So while advertisers want that, it's not actually technically possible at the moment. So it's around having to look at more creative ways of doing that, sort of forming partnerships with the CTV and OTT players to be able to deliver personalized creative. Because I think from our point of view, something that we need to always keep in mind is the end consumer. They don't think of it in the same way we do in terms of different platforms and devices. They just want a consistent brand message that's relevant to them. So I think that's what we're really trying to focus on, is how can we make sure that it's a personalized ad no matter what device a user is on. But as I say, CTV and OTT definitely has those challenges because of that server-side ad insertion.
Great, cool. That's interesting. Thanks for sharing. I mean, it's obviously a growing medium. I mean, we'll probably see, you know, how we tackle those problems remains to be seen. So I want to sort of shift away from sort of the challenges that we see and talk maybe a little bit about the impact that it'll have on You know, we're all certain it's going to impact linear TV spends, obviously, because that's the natural shift from linear into connected TV. But Jourdan, here's a question for you. How much of an impact do you think this will have on ad dollars shifting from, you know, traditional formats like pre-roll, your desktop or your mobile pre-roll from your or your outstream formats? And how's it sort of evolving the way that your brands are planning budgets or you're planning budgets? I'm aware that's two questions in one. Sorry.
So no, that's fine. So I think firstly, if we take a step back, right, we try to silo off the point of a video where it's pre-rolls, outstream, in-stream, or CTV, right? Because it's still a video, right? I think that's the evolution that we don't want to silo across. You know, what is a screen, right? It's just how you broadcast that content to the user based on their targeting and their data. But I think from a linear TV perspective, you say, is there any kind of shifts in impact on linear TV? But I think I'll pose the question back into linear TV will evolve into a digital TV because almost a lot of markets are moving towards the digital set boxes kind of measurement or moving towards the digital TV kind of space. So I think the question is more towards like, you know, we tend to talk about, you know, how do we look at it from overall video perspective, and then we distribute in accordance to what is the outcome that it meets the client's objective. So that's what you're trying to communicate with our clients at Omnicom as well, is that, you know, we talk about our video as a strategy rather than here's a portion of pre-rolls, what's the pre-rolls outstream. Because we talk about more of the reach and distribution kind of objectives rather than the channel specific or creative specific kind of outcome.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the challenge is also when you're talking about video as a whole instead of in silos, like you've just mentioned. You know, obviously we've talked about connected TV having that issue with tracking. You know, linear TV's got their traditional way of benchmarking reach and all of that stuff, and online obviously you have the same. I guess you know, you're obviously going through this process with clients, educating them on, you know, how they do the buys, and then they take all of that information and then benchmark it back to the effectiveness across the board, not just across specific silos. Yeah.
So I think what I mentioned earlier in my answer as well as my measurement, right? How do you kind of bring in a linear TV, which has been around for what, since the 50s at the birth of television, and how do you translate that measurements that has been around for 60 over years, 70 over years, to then bring the measurements from linear TV to digital TV? So I think the key component is measurements. And I think that also the fact that the word addressability is a talk, because even talk about CTVs, right, to measure truly is how do you address the audiences, because that's the fact that how linear moves to digital, right? Everyone needs to kind of log in. Like I'll take, for example, the best example is Disney or Netflix, for example, where they know that Jourdan 10 has logged into CTV, mobile, tablet, because that's the addressability that brings along with it. So I think the word is that, you know, how do you bring linear TV to address the audiences here? Because the budget itself is going to be fluid, right? Because the budget will be fluid across every single outcomes, or sorry, every single creative execution, whether it's in-stream, outstream, CTV, pre-rolls and stuff. If it all speaks the same tonality, it's about where do we find the audiences if it's all being addressed and measured correctly.
Okay, great, cool. Thanks, that was a great answer. And so I was reading this IAB study the other day and on connected TV, and it suggested that, research suggested that in addition to obviously linear TV spends being shifted onto CTV, video advertising revenue on desktop is expected to be hit the hardest. So desktop advertising obviously still continues to be a key revenue driver for a lot of publishers. You know, not all of them are set up or have the resources to create and deliver monetizable video content, whether it's, you know, on their website or by other means. So obviously desktop still remains an important revenue driver for us. For Sublime as a business, we still do see a significant amount of desktop traffic coming through, which a lot of publishers, you know, still heavily rely on. So Stephen, a question for you: How can I know you're sort of somewhat involved in this, and I know Union do a little bit around this, but how can publishers evolve, and what can they do to develop their video solutions to ensure they don't see drastic declines across their desktop spends?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, as you said. Yeah, I think the shift from desktop to mobile has been tough for publishers, full stop, because the real estate size, etc. But also most publishers have struggled most traditional publishers have struggled when it comes to building a video business. So I think as you're indicating, they can produce video content in areas that do generate scale, but that's typically news. And for good or bad, the reality is that most brands still don't want to advertise in news video. I think even more specifically news video than news text content. And then when it comes to building out more, I suppose, niche or specialist content strategies, it's really tough for them to produce content that gets the scale to be cost effective. So I think, yes, that's one of the reasons Union exists. So we try to be that, I guess, middleman that gives the publisher content that their audiences are going to value and brings monetization to the publisher as well. So I think that Union and other alliances are important, because it's also tough for publishers to sell smaller volumes of video inventory individually. So I think that has to be grouped together in some way to make it easier for agencies. But if I was on the publisher side, I would still be investing in video production in areas that I can really own. I think it is an investment. It takes time and it takes budget, but publishers have to find their way and they have to find their voice in the video space. So I see a lot of publishers who just, I don't think have a big enough journalist resource making video content versus traditional text.
Great, thanks, Stephen. I guess also that perhaps maybe if they look at, I don't know, diversifying into other formats. Ingrid, have you maybe got any thoughts around how publishers can diversify their video offering? I mean, if, obviously, if you're not able to create additional video content, maybe using other formats. I mean, Outstream has obviously helped. What else do you think publishers can do to complement the rise of video consumption?
Yes, I have different answers to this question. First, we have seen the rise recently of the interstitial with the formatting code of the format stories, the famous one on social networks, especially Instagram, and also the use of audio for Drive to Store campaign. And always we can see some custom format for more brand content campaign. Sorry. What is interesting to say also is that if we want digital video growth, it should mainly depend on the evolution, which must go to a convergence towards a creativity, more respectful of the UX, shorter format, and able to deliver performance, whether it is branding or pure performance campaigns, such as Download One or Drive to Store campaign. And regarding creativity, also it will be more and more necessary to accept to rethink the pre-roll towards more mid-roll and to be determined according to the length of the content. And this creativity topic should be also addressed by CTV and OTT players. It's also necessary to move towards more convergence and homogenization of format that are no longer distinguished between social platforms, such as the famous YouTube 6-second TrueView, and or between a retailer and traditional media to get more native, more outstream, and also more verticality. And something also that can help CSP, Sublime, it's something that has started to happen during the pandemic. I'm speaking about less minimum guarantee given by some players on the supply side. And thanks to the programmatic, we can also add, publishers can add competition in their video format, especially Outstream, and they can work with more players, work on a more better user experience. And I guess it's a tremendous opportunity for you, Sublime, for myself, and for Union that has started last January to grow and to help advertisers, agencies to better address advertiser needs, whatever we are speaking about, digital video and also TT, CTV, because as Jourdan, I think it's really hard to put also segments in one silo, because at the end, it's one campaign, one video campaign with a dedicated KPI that all together we have to reach for this advertiser.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. So obviously, you know, we're saying advertisers should look at it as a whole, and you should optimize across the different platforms instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to spend X, Y, and Z budgets across TV and things. Yeah, that totally makes sense. You know, I mean, and obviously video advertising is growing. You know, I think in 2019, it was the largest driver for ad growth. And obviously mobile's ever expanding influence has been helping with that rise in video consumption. 5G is coming out or has come out in some places. Smart devices are obviously more affordable. Everybody is connected in some way, shape, or form now, whether it's on a mobile or on, you know, on a laptop or whatever it is. But you know, at the same time, obviously, investing in high quality video assets can be expensive, particularly for smaller brands. So, and then, you know, we've talked about, you know, the fragmented landscape. People like, or platforms like Facebook suggest 6 seconds is all you really need. Whereas, you know, you talk to a company like Unruly, they talk about emotional storytelling with formats that are much longer. You know, I've personally worked on 6-second formats, 30 seconds, 15, up to 7 minutes in Thailand. So there's a broad ranging number of different video formats that brands are launching, but there isn't really a one size fits all. So I guess the question here is, what's the ideal video length? Is there still a place for longer video ads? When should brands adopt a short form strategy versus a long form video strategy, especially with mobile increasing? You know, running shorter formats on mobile tends to get better ROI. So how do you sort of balance it all up? What's the right balance? Lucy, question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple of questions for you.
So I think first off, it's understanding the technicalities of the different capabilities of the environment that you're going to be serving your video into are going to be important. Is it VAST, VPaid, or server-side ad insertion? Then I think you need to think about your audience. Who are you going to be talking to? You need to think about the context of your audience. So what content are they going to be consuming the video on, and what sort of mind frame are they going to be in? And then I think you need to think about the circumstance as well. So, you know, are you trying to push a sales promotional message? Is it a seasonal message, you know, time of year? And I think that will actually really play a huge part in whether it should be long form or short form, because I think they both play a part in the customer journey. It's just about finding the right content for the right experience. You know, if you take, for example, Christmas and the big branding campaigns like John Lewis, they wouldn't be able to get their message out in a 6-second video, and what they're trying to do is build an emotional connection with the user. Whereas if you're serving, I don't know, like a shoppable video, and you just want someone to know about your products without them having to, you know, be on a, you know, that they happen to be on some video content. So you want to try and grab their attention as quickly as possible and drive them through to a purchase, in which case a 6-second video might be better. So I really think there's a position within the purchase funnel for every type of video. I don't think video should be considered as just branding or just performance. You need to weigh that up between the two. And then I think brands really need to start getting their heads around the fact that just because it's video doesn't mean that you have to create hundreds of videos to personalize it as well. There are ways to deliver personalized video creative just from that one video. Just with a few tweaks on copy or as I say, including a shoppable format or that sort of thing.
Very cool. Interesting. Jourdan, so from your perspective, Are your clients still using TVCs online, or are they now looking at a digital or mobile first video strategy, giving you purpose-built formats specifically for online or mobile, or are they still relying on their TVC, which they've spent a lot of money creating, and then just getting you to run that as effectively as you can online?
I think the saying is right. You don't fit an elephant into a one bedroom, because the fact that because the thing is that it has to be designed for what is the one bedroom is going to be, right? But I think in the past, when I look at it from past experience, right, TVC is always fixed for basically everything. So it's like I create this TVC, you just run it on social media, run it on digital video and stuff. I think clients are more and more kind of like understanding, because I'll give you an example, right? So a quote that came from our Chief Digital Officer, Jonathan Nelson: you have to design the environment and the content that fits the environment. You cannot stick, because of Facebook, for example, is more discoverability versus a YouTube where you can stand more longer content versus an outstream. So I think we kind of design where, how do you want to kind of do a teaser phase down to amplifying it around it. So it's very critical where we kind of design what is the environment that, back to Lucy's point, you have to design what's in it for the environment. And if you have very strong content, you may not be able to fit it, but if you have a strong kind of sentiments that connects with like the John Lewis video, or for example, I work on the, for example, in my past career in New Zealand, I work on the End New Zealand Safety video, which is a 3-4 minutes video that we run on YouTube. Because the content is very engaging, it's very funny, witty and stuff, you get the audience attention around it. So I think it's about two things that you look at it from a strategy point of view: is that is the content fit for the audiences you're designing for, and is the length fit, for example, to kind of capture the attention right now. Because we have to kind of accept that someone like TikTok, which is the rise in social video, for example, they are more of a kind of browsing discoverability content. So how do we set and design the content plus the length design for the environment itself here?
Cool, thanks a lot. And Stephen, what about from your perspective? I mean, presumably large amount of supply comes from mobile, as is the trend. It's probably growing year on year. How are your clients adapting their video strategies to cope with obviously mobile rising? Are they running different format lengths, or you still just get the one format and away you go?
It does vary, and so you're right. Yes, about 75% of our impressions are mobile now, which is natural. I still think probably the average would be 15 to 20 seconds if you think about the standard duration. But then we're seeing some smart clients who are running 6, 15 and 30 on the same campaign, because I think, as Lucy and Ingrid pointed to, context matters, and actually even sort of geographic differences make a big difference. So I think to set out a campaign, if the beauty of programmatic is that we can easily test and optimize. So we're seeing very different results from those sort of 6, 15 and 30 second creatives in different markets, in different contexts, in different video durations at times of day. So I think the wise clients seem to be approaching it with a sort of a multi-creative approach.
Cool. So so there's no one size fits all. There is room for every sort of video length. I mean, you got to love those Christmas ads. Those are very entertaining, obviously, and they land really well. But obviously, like you said, when you're trying to drive product, you need something shorter. So there's space for everything. Ingrid, is there anything you'd like to add on this topic? If not, I'll crack on.
On this topic, and especially for mobile, as the trickiest part is the balance between creativity, user X, and performance, and to define what KPI will be used to define whether the campaign was successful or not. And maybe also something I like to check, it's always great to look at what's happening in the gaming industry. They are really powerful. It's an industry which is a mobile first, and in a way that has been less affected by the crisis, probably because, in my opinion, they have had a very strong KPI/ROI/ results-oriented culture for a long time. And advertisers were still there because they knew they were going to get results. In the gaming industry, there's a lot of video, and they know since a long time how to get the best-in-class user experience with a strong right balance between monetization and user experience. And since a long time, they are thinking about the length of the videos that should be the best, considering that they are speaking to an audience which is gamers that can accept video, but until a certain length. So it's something we are checking sometimes at Smart to see whether there was some kind of innovation or new standard in the video monetization gaming industry, because they are quite powerful and quite strict in terms of user experience.
Let me unmute. You mentioned gaming, obviously. So maybe let's talk a little bit about context. And so gaming and gaming content. I know we mentioned it earlier at the start. Jourdan, how are advertisers approaching gaming? Obviously, there's a lot of Twitch have recently launched in Singapore. Well, not so recent, but they've launched in a big way over in APAC. They are generating lots of streams. But still, there's obviously a bit of a perception that or gaming content, you know, when someone's running around shooting guns and you're headshotting people, it's not the right environment for certain brands. Are you guys using much gaming inventory at the moment?
Okay, so I think the perception is that if you look at it from a gaming point of view, right, there is FIFA. I mean, you're talking about the Call of Duty or Counter-Strike, for example. And then there's the big one, which is the League of Legends or Dota 2, which I think in Shanghai this year, it was one of the world's biggest prize money. I think the winning team gets about, I think, $10 million from memories. So I think the whole e-gaming sports varies in accordance to what game do we play, right? So that's one thing. So I think that, I think it's definitely on the perception of which brands that is associated with it. So obviously the shooting games from a APAC lens, may not be strong as association around it. But if you kind of look at it from a different lens, it's like you look at the one of the biggest one, which is PUBG and Fortnite. Fortnite has the biggest cash prize ever for a single player, which is I think $2 million. But I think the whole kind of brand association around it is that there's a tolerance in the whole brand association with esports gaming. I think the most important thing is that the content that fits into the whole environment, because like e-gamers or e-sport audiences are very dedicated to the content, dedicated to the sports itself, right? If you shove something which is irrelevant, for example, right, it may kind of have a different effect to it. So we kind of talk to clients about, how do you want to engage in that space, whether it's through video or influencer or through even a simple display, but you need to ensure that you design it to speak their language, because it's a new language that esports in Asia in particular, right? It's a new kind of uprising channel. But I think it's about how do you cater for that uprising channel rather than taking what is the norm and applying to it, for example.
Great, thanks, Jourdan. Stephen, do you work with many gaming publishers at Union?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have gaming publishers on our roster, and I think we use them for relevant brands. I think increasingly it's about the audience, and the reality is sometimes, and I use my other son now, 12 years old, he spends so much time in those kind of YouTube, Twitch environments, and the reality is that's what they do. So if you want to find them, that's where they are. Now, of course, brand and context matter, but I think it's about the right blend of publishers for the right brand, but that's true of any genre, I guess.
Yeah, cool. I guess, obviously, given, we've got a range of different tools that can help us navigate, any dodgy content or things like that, and using data are obviously the key to effective attention-grabbing advertising is to make things personal. When we can marry human insights to the right data, brands can unlock some significant potential. Ad campaigns can be more efficient, more agile, and they will land better, driving better ROI. So on the data front, Lucy, could you talk about a bit on some of the ways that brands can effectively use data to, I guess, navigate fraud or navigate, risky content, and, along the way, make their video activation plans a lot more efficient?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, if I'm honest, it's not so different from the way other channels are doing it. It's using first-party data from your website to find your audiences. It's making sure that when you then find that audience, that you then take into account other data signals that mean that you can speak to them in that personalized way. So as I say, whether it might be the current weather. We did a really nice dynamic video campaign with Corona, for example. Corona, the beer, by the way, not. And that was all about sort of looking at time and circumstance of users, and it was sort of 6-second bumps. They made something like 150 different versions of the video, and it was taking into account all the different data signals. So time of day, day of week, specific holidays. So, it's July 4th, your Corona deserves a lime. Or are you stuck in traffic commuting on your way home? Make sure you pick up your lime to go with your Corona. And I think it's as I say, it's the same as how you would communicate on display or desktop as well. And it kind of comes back to what I said at the beginning of the consumer doesn't think about how they consume advertising based on platforms. They just want a consistent brand message that's relevant to them. So it's about using all the data signals that are available to personalize a message without being creepy to users. I think you're still on mute, Justin.
Sorry, it's just saying we've got 13 more minutes. I've just wasted one by being on mute. I think we can get through the last 2 questions. So the next one, so moving on from data, let's talk a bit about performance. We've mentioned a little bit earlier about not taking video and not looking at video in silos, and how brands should be looking at video as a single channel. Viewability, view-through rate, click-through rates, these sort of seem to be the main metrics on the scorecard when brands are benchmarking video campaigns. But and this is a question to the panel. So beyond sort of these metrics, what else should brands be looking at, or what else can they look at to benchmark the effectiveness? Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I've got some thoughts. Okay. I think absolutely, you know, when you're looking at the specific channel of video, then as you say, viewability and that sort of thing make perfect sense. But I think the bigger challenge for advertisers is looking at the holistic view of video's impact on all of your digital marketing. And we kind of encourage multi-touch attribution, because I think if you look at it based on last touch, then video is never going to be where advertisers should be investing, because search is always going to take that last credit. And I think, you know, video has a really powerful role to play in sort of building that brand loyalty and getting people engaged with your brand. So I do think multi-touch attribution is a key performance measurement and effectiveness study that clients should be using.
Cool. Jourdan, you want to add on that?
Yeah, I'm surprised that the conversion word is not being included into it. So whether it's conversion through performance or whether it's through offline conversions, because, you know, we tend to forget that, you know, there is a big ecosystem of e-commerce happening right now, especially during the COVID situation. Right now, there's a whole massive e-commerce shift in behavior. So I think conversion is one of the things, because if you look at conversions, right, it could include videos like even down to influencer marketing, for example. So I think that's one thing that we look at. You know, conversions should be included in the matrix. I think offline conversion is because we're such digital heavy countries and globally, right? I think that we also more talks about, you know, how do you exposure to video? Does it lead into someone walking into in-store, for example, to purchase a product? So I think it's all connected, because if we talk about the whole data piece where everything is all ID based, right? There should be a form of integration where, you know, we can identify the user through exposure of video, when to in-store to purchase, using my loyalty program to tap into it to get more points. But I think the conversion is one of the things that should be included as well, in my mind.
Great, thanks, Jourdan.
And then both of those answers are obviously great, but focused very much on the performance end of video, whereas I would say in most cases, video is about the brand telling their story. So clearly, being able to measure brand uplift, that's been a challenging space. It's more difficult than it should be to be able to do that effectively. So, so I think really being able to understand, for us, that key metric is trying to gauge favorability. So, running brand studies as an always-on solution is something that we're trying to do. But also going back, view-through rate and completion rates is not a bad indicator of that there's a value exchange for the user, that they've watched the video ad, A, because they like the video ad or don't mind the video ad, and B, because they want to get to the content because that has a value. So in terms of the experience, I still think that, that's a really important metric.
Great. Thanks, Stephen. Ingrid, would you like to add anything onto that?
Yes, maybe one word about this convergence of KPI. We also need to pay attention to the business model and the way this video is bought by agencies. Tomorrow we will buy linear, catch-up, and addressable TV on a CPM only model. It should be the end of GRP. I know we are not here yet, but this would simplify comparison and processing toward a unified programmatic engine. So this business model and how the video is bought it's also a key KPI because today we are seeing many ways and many business models to buy video, and this does not help to stop the silo we were speaking about just before.
Great, thank you. Thanks, guys. So it doesn't look like we've got any questions. So maybe let's spend the last 10 minutes or so maybe talking about what's next. So what's the next big thing for video advertising, apart from connected TV and OTT, obviously? What can we expect to come? I know we touched on gaming, but what are your thoughts, guys, on what's coming up next, maybe in the next 6, 12, 18 months? Anyone feel free to jump in, or maybe let's start with Jourdan at the top and then move our way down.
Thanks. I think the word is personalizations. It's going to be inevitable in the last 12 to 18 months. If everyone's been seeing the whole shift in Google, Apple, and how the privacy is very important to the consumers, right? But I think if that's the case, then the word personalizations is more than inevitable in terms of where the data feeds into it with the video component of it. I think, to me right now, based on the whole ecosystem, there could be a shift back to Stephen's point. It's more of a brand storytelling, because if data, I always use this word, between the walled gardens gets higher and higher and higher, then you are unable to connect the dot through data connections to tell a stronger personalized story, where it could be a one cycle back where it moves to all pure branding, sentiments, measurements and stuff. So I think it depends on what is the technology and data ecosystem that will shift the kind of video approach, either this way or that way. That's a little bit my thoughts into it.
Thanks, Jourdan. And Stephen, if you had a crystal ball, what would you say was coming next?
Well, I would hope that crystal ball shows that everyone continues to boycott Facebook and the rest of the social platforms and invest significantly in publishers and quality content. And hopefully when we think about the data opportunity there, using context to inform content strategies and video campaign strategies. So that would be my hopeful crystal ball.
Nice, thanks. Yeah, we hope the same thing. Not sure if I'm allowed to say that. Lucy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think agree with Jourdan on personalization. I think marketers need it to be easy though. As you know, as we've talked about, there's so much fragmentation with the different platforms and social and YouTube and, you know, premium publisher content, that actually there needs to be some streamlining to be able to deliver personalization at scale across all platforms. I think that's going to be something that we're going to see more of from the technology providers. I think social video is only going to explode even further. You know, TikTok during lockdown has just gone mad. I think there's going to be more of that coming out. And I also think 5G, I mean, I don't actually know what it's going to do, but I think it's going to really change the game for video as a medium, because I think advertisers can deliver content knowing that it will be a seamless execution delivery to users' devices, which might, you know, again, help sort of speed up the video adoption. I mean, the predictions are that video spend will surpass display by, I think it's 2021 or 22. So yeah, I think video is only going to grow, which is exciting.
Yeah, great. And last but not least, Ingrid, we've actually got a couple of questions, so we'll get on to that in a minute.
On the what's next, one question is, and it's also maybe an internal question for Jourdan, but maybe we will see a kind of reorganization inside of the agencies, because it's not so easy today because of the silo we get in their team. We have the TV buying team, we have digital video team for the buying, sometimes we have multi-screen team. So to get an overall strategy for one campaign or one advertiser, it's not so easy. And also from a sales side perspective, we have inside the same agency many different teams to address. For instance, for catch-up, sometimes it's digital video, sometimes it's TV. So maybe we will see a kind of rationalization around how they are organized. My second point is more about OTT and CTV platform we were speaking about. We see the rise of players everywhere. So how this will affect the landscape of the market? Does this will finally impact the majority of the spend that is going overall to YouTube? And I don't know if we will see someone emerging able to compete with Netflix or Disney, maybe a European player, maybe an APAC player, but this is something we will look at carefully. And my third point is about addressable TV, because we didn't speak a lot about that, but it's something which is emerging very fast. In some countries, it's already authorized, but it's a small part of the digital video spend and also a small part of TV spend. In France, we are expecting this to happen, and it should be also a new era to look at to see if it will change the overall video landscape.
Great, thanks. Thank you for sharing, guys. I guess, I mean, there's no one here to really kick us off stage, so we can, I think we can go past the time a little bit. Got actually two questions from the audience. They're both similar. So one is, how do you think consumers feel about sound that accompanies video? And then the other one is, has anyone in the panel ever tried a video campaign or video strategy that doesn't use audio? So I guess maybe the question here is around soundless environment. So running ads essentially on mute. I think that does happen a lot. So what, how do we prepare ads, I guess, for a soundless environment? And how do you think consumers feel about the sound that accompanies videos, or whether there's a preference to mute videos automatically and just watch it? Does anyone have any thoughts around?
I mean, I suppose from a personal point of view, you know, I think sound can be quite intrusive when it's auto, when it automatically plays. So I think on the whole, you tend to see most publishers, you know, it defaults to no sound. But I think if an advertiser has a really strong message that they're trying to deliver that the video itself doesn't convey, then, you know, subtitles are kind of the most obvious way forward. You see a lot of sort of influencers, you know, they're on their stories on Instagram, for example, they'll always have subtitles there. And it just means that people have the option to turn the sound on or not, but they still get the same impact. I think the other thing around having subtitles is, you know, there are communities that can't hear, so actually it's making it an inclusive experience for anyone, whether they choose to have the audio or they can't have audio. If there are subtitles there and you've got something that you actually want to be saying as well as visualizing, then I think that's good best practice. But I'd be interested to see what other panelists think on that. As I say, that's just my personal thoughts versus experience, I suppose.
I agree with you, Lucy. I think we are seeing already a lot of video with without sound, let's say, off by default. And it's also something that is requested by the publisher, and especially programmatically. If me as an SSP, I'm running one video campaign through open auction with sound on per default, I will be in trouble with most of my publishers. So I would say that the market is already ready for a video without any sound. And it's true that with subtitles and new formats that are emerging, for instance, here, which is doing a lot of video, that the sound is off per default, but thanks to the subtitle, the experience of the user is really good. And I'm personally a big fan of those video content.
Yeah, I guess we are already planning for a soundless environment, because obviously, you know, most of the ads are on mute and you have the option to switch the sound on. And then by default, I think I've noticed more and more ads with subtitles now. So they're already preparing for that. So Jourdan, you want to add something onto this?
Yeah, because I mean, like, you know, to the panelists and everyone on this call right now, right? You know the feeling that when you wake up in the morning, when you're squeezing your toothpaste and just overdid it with a toothbrush, you just have too many toothpaste. So I think it's the same feeling with the audio sound as well, right? It's because I think we're living in a consumer-centric world. As I mentioned before, in the past, media was a push strategy. Now it's a pull strategy, because every media publisher is trying to get the consumer attention, right? So you have to design the best experience, whether it's what Steve was saying through the narrative of the beauty of storytelling through video, back to Lucy's point about personalization, Ingrid was talking about, you know, how to get the right supply for it. So it's all catered and designed for the consumer experience first. Because I've seen some, if I give you an example, I've seen some of the websites where they just turn on the sound on mobile, and that just puts me off, because the client just spend money buying this impressions, and which they pay a lot for the video, and they just put me off because, you know, they wasted their impressions to get my attention by turning on the video and shocking me there. So I think it's very critical that, you know, it's a very consumer-centric ecosystem that we live in. So it needs to be designed of what we put consumer first to capture the attention, not to piss off the attention, if I put it this way.
Great, thanks, Jourdan. Great. Stephen, you got anything to add, or?
I thought they were three perfect answers. That's all I've got to add.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, that concludes our session. Only 3 minutes over, which is great. So yeah, thank you all again. Thank you, audience, for tuning in. Thanks to the panelists for taking the time out of their busy schedules to come and share some thoughts with us. I think this has been recorded, so obviously if anyone wants to watch it again, it will be available online on, I guess, on our company channels. So feel free to check back for that. I hope we've managed to answer the questions from the audience. And yeah, thank you all for joining us today. We had a good time talking about video.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Everyone. That's great. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.